Well, Henry Ensher is a former US Ambassador, and he joins us now live from San Diego. Welcome to the program. Now, you were also the former Deputy Assistant Secretary for Central Asia and also Afghanistan at the US Department of State. And we are now entering the 14th day of war. We're going into the third week. Is this looking like a forever war, like Afghanistan was, a war that Donald Trump campaigned not to get into?
Well, thanks for having me, and it's such a great question. Look, it's 2 weeks. It's not 20 years yet, but your previous correspondent there indicated that the Marines and additional naval assets are headed toward Hormuz. Well, the particular capability of the Marines is exactly amphibious landings. And so honestly, it makes me very concerned that the Marines might be heading in that direction, and that the U.S. is considering an attempt to control from the land the Straits of Hormuz. That would be a really significant escalation and is of grave concern. I think the fact that the Iranians have been able to create such a reaction by doing very little in the Straits of Hormuz is a real indicator of the economic power that they're able to bring to bear, even if their military capability has been largely decimated. So this is a real concern. Escalation is something that could easily happen. And yeah, I'm worried.
You're worried, and there have been so many media reports and a lot of analysts asking, was the US prepared for what we're seeing right now in the Strait of Hormuz? Did they have a plan for boats to be closed, for Iran to control, to restrict, to close this vital waterway? Did the US plan for this?
Yeah, evidently not, right? Because if US officials are now talking about the possibility of an international group, or they're talking about the possibility of American forces operating in the Straits as escorts, then that to me says that they weren't ready for it. Otherwise, the U.S. would be in a position now to execute that mission and not merely planning or talking about it. I think it's also indicative that the U.S. didn't understand the full reaction of Iran. Because we've seen all these assaults on the neighboring countries, right? I don't think they were quite ready for it.
And does this now also potentially go to other waterways, such as the Red Sea, for example, such as near Egypt as well? What other shipping routes could be attacked?
So you're talking about the north and south ends
the Suez
of the
Canal,
Red
I wanted to say, yeah.
Right, the Suez Canal on the north and the Bab el-Mandeb on the south of the Red Sea. Look, the Houthis amply demonstrated, right, that they are capable of doing the same sort of thing in that waterway that we're seeing now in the Straits of Hormuz. They have not chosen to do so. They have not chosen to enter the war yet, but they clearly could. By no means did the U.S. get all of their missiles.
Indeed, and that is a point that maybe this is a card that they're waiting to use, Iran, because of course it's not just the Strait of Hormuz, there's the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. Diplomatically, given your career, your ambassadorial experience, one of my previous guests said that right now this is the time possibly to see a great coalition with Qatar, Turkey, Oman, Pakistan. What are your thoughts on this?
So look, I want to point out something, which is that the Supreme Leader's statement said that the Strait of Hormuz is a source of leverage. Well, in my world, when we talk about leverage, we're talking about negotiations, right? And the Omanis have done great work at trying to solve this problem. The Qataris are strongly interested. The Pakistanis have good relations with both parties. I mean, the U.S. and Iran. So I think that's where it's going to end up. It will be a question of when President Trump decides to stop shooting as a precursor, really, to negotiations.
And when does that point come? Because he has laid out aims. They do seem to shift. Trump's aims sometimes do appear to be different from the press secretary and also the defense secretary. But when does Trump say this is enough?
So, you'll recall, I think, that the president said that he started the war or started this phase of the war because